Evening cold with some hail or sleet showers tonight. Overnight temperatures of -2 to 2 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball.
In association with Air. Watch every UEFA Champions League and Europa League game on the Air Sport Pack.
This is News Talk.
Welcome along, everyone. Another busy evening ahead. Champions League included. Liverpool should cruise, you would think, against Porto. Certainly with a 5-goal lead from the first leg. Things more interesting, if still very much in Real Madrid's balance against PSG this evening. They've been up all night, the Real Madrid team, being kept awake by the PSG Ultras. We'll be talking about that game at 7:30. James Richardson, he of Football Italia, now the Totally Football podcast, and formerly the Guardian Football Weekly podcast, will join us after 9 to reminisce about those Italian days. And then 30 years on from his own Winter Olympics moment, we will be joined by Eddie the Eagle on the show this evening, 8 o'clock. Richie McCormack is here. Hello.
Hey, Joe.
Eddie the Eagle, Richie.
Halcyon days, Joe.
Eddie the Eagle.
Halcyon days. Flinging himself off a cliff edge in Calgary and just having the crack.
Yeah, pretty much. And Dan McDonnell here as well.
Hi, Joe.
Any fond memories of Eddie the Eagle, Dan?
Just been aware of who he was. Did he do a bit of stunt work as well or something after? I think he might have been.
Did a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, well, just reading through some of the archive material online, he had a hell of a year, 1988 to 89. He made 700 grand sterling.
Huge celebrity. I remember him appearing on Wogan. Like, and that's when you know you're
That's
big.
the gold standard.
That is the for
yeah.
like 1988. If you're rocking out at 7:20, it's like, please welcome Eddie the Eagle, and out he comes.
And Jimmy Carson.
Johnny Carson.
Johnny.
I was like,
With the blank looks. Yeah, Johnny more impressive than Jimmy, his brother, and Johnny Carson.
Well, that's actually that supersedes. Dear old Tell.
There's a picture of him with the huge glasses on, talking to Johnny Carson.
Wow,
which is just quite something. He did that before he got home.
That audience would have been absolutely incredible. Jesus, fair play to Eddie.
So, so 700 grand. He made 65 grand in one day. In the couple of months afterwards, he opened a shop and then did
He got glasses, endorsements, and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, like what percentage of that was prize money? I'm guessing zero.
Not popular amongst his teammates. There was a level of resentment there in that we have reached a level of excellence, and you haven't, and all anyone cares about is you. Even to the point where the team sponsors. I can double check this with them later, I'm not too sure, but the British Olympic team sponsors hadn't bothered to include Eddie in their package because frankly he was an embarrassment in their eyes, but all the press wanted was Eddie, and so they weren't getting any publicity out of it for whatever reason, because he wasn't under their umbrella, and they put an embargo on Eddie speaking to the press at the time. So basically everybody, it seemed, in the Olympic Association was completely embarrassed by him, harsh or otherwise. I mean, on the one hand, I mean, it is that delicate line. Is it kind of living up to the Olympic ideals, and it's important to take part and to push your own boundaries, and that's what it's all about, or did he make a mockery of the whole thing?
Well, what he essentially did was open the door for the way the UK Olympic Association, etc., have approached Olympic Games. Not necessarily since then, but in recent years, like they've essentially targeted different sports, because they went, this sport might be easy to win a medal in. If we plough X amount of pounds into this, then we can come out with at least a bronze, possibly a silver, and who knows, maybe a gold. And they've done that across numerous sports in the winter and summer games. And they now view, and a lot of the British Olympic coverage, and I'm labelling this, I'm putting this in the door of the BBC more than anybody else because they're the ones covering it over there. But a lot of their Olympic coverage is spoken of in terms of pounds per medal. Yeah, which is just a horrible way of looking at it. But essentially, Eddie the Eagle Edwards showed that if you get a certain mark in a certain sport, then you can compete at the Olympic level. And if he had had the UK lottery money and the money that the UK Olympic Commission have thrown behind other athletes in 1988, I mean, geez, he could have been looking at a bronze medal.
As it happens, he finished last by a significant distance in both the 70 and 90 metre jumps. He only decided last minute to do the 90 metre jump. He'd done it 5 or 6 times, that height of slope.
So yeah, it is the Olympics fair.
It's brave.
But I mean,
90 metres, think about that for a second.
Oh yeah, the public had to embrace it as well, though. I mean, that demand he obviously just got the timing right in terms of the public mood, and maybe people weren't as cynical, and he profited off it like hugely. Wow. You know what I mean? He sort of, sadly
for him, he was declared bankrupt in 1992.
That would be
a fund was set up to look after all the money he was making, and something went kaput with it. And
well, that's the boom and bust cycle of a lot of sportsmen from that era. Yeah,
I don't think this was him blowing money on Ferraris. I think actually he was trying to set up a trust for his long-term future, and something went quite badly wrong. But the one point, as we leave Eddie the Eagle and get on to Champions League in just a second, the one point about Eddie the Eagle which I hadn't fully realised is, like, he wasn't some complete uncoordinated fool. Like, he was a very well thought of downhill skier, to the point that when he was trying to make the 84 games as a downhill skier, he had set the 9th fastest time for an amateur in the world. So he did ski at 170 kilometres per hour. He was good, you know.
But he didn't walk off the street. I don't think anyone really ever assumed that, did they?
Who knows? I mean,
gets a plane. I can do that.
I'll give that a bash.
Give me a uniform. I can do that.
In the build-up to the 88 games, he'd been jumping for about 20 months, basically. But I think he'd broken every bone in his body, fractured his skull twice.
Jesus.
Like, it was heroic.
Well, I assume it was good for the publicity of the games at the time, generally.
Well, who else do you remember from those games?
Miracle on Ice, Joe.
Is that the same year?
88 was in Calgary? No, that was a different one.
What was the Cool Runnings year then? That was the
90s, no?
That was 88. It was 88 as well, wasn't it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Like a bobsleigh team, Joe.
Yeah, okay.
Both of them got movies.
It's a huge Winter Olympics, really, to be honest.
Huge Winter Olympics for movies.
Yeah, no.
Iconic Winter Olympics.
Yeah, the Eddie Eagle movie is 2 years old.
There you go.
He's gotten royalties out of it. He's done well out of it again. The good times are back. So Eddie the Eagle just after 8 o'clock, but much of our attention will be on the Champions League, and the team news is in. We are here, of course, with Air, the home of Air Sport. Get amazing live sporting content free with Air Broadband, which kicks off our news round, Richie.
Yeah, bar the mother and father of all collapses tonight, Liverpool should earn a place in the Champions League quarter-finals for the first time since 2009. They hold a 5-0 first leg lead over Porto, who visit Anfield. Liverpool start with Loris Karius in goal, a back four of Joe Gomez, Joel Matip, Dejan Lovren and Alberto Moreno, with James Milner, Jordan Henderson and Emre Can across the midfield. The returning Adam Lallana comes in for Sadio Mane, for Mo Salah, I should say, with Sadio Mane and Roberto Firmino joining him in the front three. For Porto, Iker Casillas starts in goal and captains the side. Maxi Pereira, Felipe, Diego Reyes and Diogo Dalot are across their back four. In midfield, it's Bruno Costa, Oliver Torres, the wonderfully named Andre and Jesus Corona, with Vincent Abubakar up front alongside Majid Waris. Meanwhile, Angel Di Maria deputises for the injured Neymar as Paris Saint-Germain look to overturn a 3-1 first leg deficit at home to Real Madrid. PSG Ultras, as you alluded to at the top of the show, caused a major disturbance outside the hotel of Real players in the early hours of this morning. Graham Hunter as well was on OTB AM this morning and was asked how PSG might fare without their mercurial Brazilian.
Anybody who argued on your show that Paris Saint-Germain are better off without Neymar, deserves taken outside and being manacled to a stockade and mocked for the remainder of the day in the rain. But team games are about that ethos, and I do expect it to be a rallying, for absolutely certain. Neymar played in the first leg, and while he was exciting and while he created chances, they still lost with him in the team. I absolutely expect this to be a test of mentality, a test of fitness for Real Madrid, because if we focus only on Neymar's missing, Mbappe has been a tight decision about whether he starts or not, then we ignore the sort of split elements in the match. Real Madrid have come on to a game, and they've come on to efficacy in front of goal, but they're going to have 2 or 3 players in the 11 tonight who are very tight in terms of being able to make it, one, and secondly, last the pace. That's Marcelo, Kroos and Modric.
Kroos and Modric on the bench is an amazing situation, but Graham's alluded to it there. Angel Di Maria, 13 goals in his past 14 matches. He's not in bad form, to say the least. And Kylian Mbappe scored at the weekend and is 15 and 36.
I think a lot of those PSG stats are probably going to be pretty decent, though, given the trashings that
you beat a team 8-0, I guess you pick up a goal or two.
Yeah, but it might just skew the stats a small bit.
Sure. They're undoubtedly missing Neymar and missing him badly. I mean, there's no question, as selfish as he may be, It's Neymar. He can do something miraculous. Hey, you think of the PSG Barcelona game.
He's been involved
last
in
season.
This type of challenge before.
He tended to play a role. And then Liverpool resting Salah, it makes total sense. They've got Manchester United.
That's tough. So, I mean, PSG's, I know we're going to speak a bit about it, the PSG game going on across the night, but you'd imagine the first 25-30 minutes are going to be special there, because there's going to have to be a big start, or else they are done.
You have to give a shout out, given that we talked about Roger Bannister last night, to another famous miler. He broke 4 minutes in 1956, and by the way, defeated Landy in Australia to win Olympic gold. Happy birthday, Ronnie Delaney. 6th of March 1935, which had passed us by. Where are we going next, Rich?
We will head to the Ireland squad, who shows a clean bill of health ahead of Saturday's crucial Six Nations encounter with Scotland. Tadhg Furlong and Ian Henderson both took a full part in training today, having missed that win over Wales, while the three-quarters partnership of Jonathan Sexton and Conor Murray showed no ill effects from their respective knocks taken 10 days ago, and Furlong is chomping at the bit to get back into the side.
I suppose, look, we've an excellent team of physios here and doctors, and look, you know yourself more than anyone that if you're feeling little pinches and pulls here and there, or if it's not quite right, and look, it's mastery on the player that only you know that, so it's mastery on the player to flag it up, I suppose. So look, I've been lucky, it feels really good, and we put a lot of work into it over the last 3 weeks leading into this.
Here's hoping.
Pep Guardiola has confirmed he'll continue to wear his yellow ribbon in support of imprisoned Catalan politicians in Manchester City's last 16 second leg with Basel tomorrow. He accepted an FA charge for wearing what they deem a political message, but UEFA rules allow him to display the ribbon. FA Chief Executive Martin Glenn said yesterday that he apologised after comparing the ribbon to symbols like a swastika and the Star of David. Guardiola says Glenn's apology was a good thing, but his original comments came from a place of ignorance.
He didn't understand what does it mean, the yellow ribbon. It's simple like that. So he make a comment, it's far away what that means, that. So maybe no, he will realize what does it means, because the same. It's not about independence or not independence. It's not about that. It's about the 4 people and more people are in jail when they didn't do absolutely anything to be in jail.
I think it's a bit about independence. I mean, maybe I'm misinterpreting the symbol. I'd say it's closely allied to independence. I mean, what exactly does the poppy mean anymore is another question. Symbols are tricky.
Symbols are tricky, which is why Martin Glenn's contribution to the debate was...
Glenn is not an expert in the area. I mean, I'm not claiming to be either.
It's been some of the worst comments I think you'd ever possibly heard from a football blazer, which is actually saying something, particularly in the recent history of the FA. I mean, these were particularly unhelpful comments.
The tone of the comments seemed to be like I don't know, these didn't seem to be on the record as such, were they? No,
I think because they were in several sources. I think it was at some sort of, was it the IFAB meeting or one of these administrative dues in Switzerland, and it seemed like a huddle or a group chat where several places all went live with the same comments at the same time, right, as though he'd done a dailies or the equivalent thereof.
So in short, for people who didn't catch the comments, he basically said, look, symbols, people can find offence in different ones. They're tricky. You've got the swastika, the hammer and sickle, the Star of David.
You don't want people wearing Robert Mugabe on their shirt, but the Star of David of course dropped in there, which means quite something to the people from Israel and so on. So I mean,
almost proving the point how difficult it is to navigate these waters.
But I mean, just throwing the swastika in there in the same sentence as other ones. When when the English FA in the last year, 18 months, have been protested to FIFA over not being able to wear the poppy, which can be interpreted in many different ways to many different people. So I just think for an authority figure, if a manager, perhaps a manager doing a thing, but when you're the head of the Football Association that deals with governance and policing these things, to make comments that just basically seem to be completely unaware of the murkiness of the area.
It's very clumsy.
It was clumsy, really disappointing.
Martin Glenn said a clumsy 18 months.
It's not out of sync with recent events.
Not overly impressive, actually, Martin Glenn, in many respects.
Good for quotes, though. I'd say when the microphone's running, you think this could be good, but is that really a quality you want from someone in that position?
Mags Darcy was on OTB.
Yeah, the 4-time Camogie All-Ireland winner accepted a role with the Wexford Hurlers, the 2-time All-Stars, working as a goalkeeping coach in Davy Fitzgerald's backroom team. Darcy confirmed today she's been working with the side for the past 5 weeks, and she spoke about her new role with Ger and Owen on this morning's OTB AM.
Yeah, it's a new role I'm after taking up, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. So I've I've lost kind of power in my right elbow at the moment through injury with the club last year. So I'm just working away trying to get that fixed.
Is it a nerve issue or?
Yeah, tendons, nerves, it's all twinkled up. So even lifting the kettle at the moment is a bit of a difficulty. So anyway, it is what it is. I'm getting it addressed, and I might be looking at surgery. So I just have to look after myself at the moment. But this opportunity presented itself, and it's different, no doubt, to have a woman involved with a men's team. I'm kind of going, God, I didn't know Mags was a physio, or I didn't know Mags was a nutritionist, or I didn't know Mags was a doctor. Well, I'm none of those things, but I am a coach, and you know, I'm adding value, and obviously Davey wouldn't have me there if I wasn't.
So, then this Canelo meat story.
Yeah. The presidents of the WBA and WBC have vouched for Saul Canelo Alvarez's innocence after he tested positive for clenbuterol. The former middleweight world champion insists his positive test was the result of consuming contaminated meat. Gilberto Mendoza is the WBA president, and he's quoted as saying he believes in Canelo's innocence, adding that the situation will, quote, add a bit of drama to the fight, that being with Golovkin in May, and I know the fight will continue. His WBC counterpart Mauricio Suleiman added that everything indicates that this is food contamination. Alvarez is due to fight Gennady Golovkin in a rematch of last September's drawn bout in Las Vegas on May 5th, and with his training camp moving to the United States, Alvarez has claimed he will submit to all and any tests required to clear his name.
I'll hold my hands up and say I've swooped in late to work today. There was other things going on, and I haven't been able to read anything about this or what people who actually know what they're talking about have to say about this. Are there raised eyebrows from the masses, or is there a sense that this may be somehow in a non-Alberto Contador way legitimate?
There does seem to be a history in Mexico of boxers consuming contaminated meat products and this forcing a spike, and it is something that they pointed to in their own statement, that is Golden Boy Promotions last night, saying that meat contamination can force a spike within a certain range in clenbuterol levels, but they'll try and prove via just continued testing that this is obviously just a spike as a result of that, and this is an ongoing problem within Mexico. But unfortunately with anything like this, you can't take it on face value, and you certainly can't take it on the word of the Golden Boy Promotion press release, which is quoting an unnamed person from the lab who did the test, saying that it's well within the range of something that might be deemed contamination from a meat product. It just doesn't look good. And
no, for sure it doesn't.
I think quote, it'll add a bit of drama to the fight, probably isn't really ideal.
Good for business. Nothing to see here. Yours sincerely, Saul Canelo Alvarez, is what's going on.
And the presidents of WBC and WA who are holding Golovkin's belts at the moment. It's just nuts.
Richie Quaid on Facebook, it's a joke if that fight goes ahead. Yeah. We'll do something on it this week. We'll track down someone in the know and see if there's any kind of legitimacy to what he's saying here. But raised eyebrows, I think, would be the appropriate.
But it's like the context of a different Team Sky and all this stuff that's ongoing. Just all these sports people that are just so unlucky. Like life has given them a gift in one hand, and yet they just encounter so much misfortune along the way.
So many crippled with illness and asthma.
It's a miracle they got there in the first place.
Point here about Eddie the Eagle, who's on the way after 8 o'clock. The thing about Eddie the Eagle in 1988, lads, was his peak. It was all downhill from there. It just shows it can be a slippery slope.
Name names. Who sent that in?
I would wager. JP says anonymous. I would wager JP may have made that up just to get it in. He's shaking his head. No, it came in.
You're not allowed to make up text.
Can you see a screen grab of that? Yeah. You read out the last 4 digits of the number.
Whoever wrote a series of puns like that,
put your name to it. Text back in.
Yeah, don't hide your light under a bushel.
2614. If you're listening out there and your partner's number ends in 2614,
ditch them. Find yourself someone new.
Or we'll hire them.
Text back in and give us your name. We want to celebrate you.
You might say celebrate.
I appreciate that text. It's good. Nothing like a pun. We've James Richardson on the show after 9. He loves a good pun.
There's a brilliant clip. I don't know if you've seen the clip or you're going to play it to him. The one where he was at it might have been the Genoa Derby. It was certainly at the Luigi Ferrara Stadium, where he was doing the halftime scores as he always did during Football Italia. But it was just him and a camera up in the gantry, and he had Elvis Costello alongside him, and he didn't reveal this until he'd done the halftime scores via a load of Elvis Costello puns.
Is that right?
It's a genius piece of TV.
His puns are phenomenal.
That man makes it an art form.
Yeah, I know, an absolute art form. Like
2614, whoever this is.
to the point where you really shouldn't try after Richardson. So that's Canelo. We will try and come back to that and get someone who's on top of that story to talk to us in the next couple of days. Jason Quigley, meanwhile.
Yeah, he's confirmed his return to the sport. The Donegal middleweight will face Puerto Rican Daniel Rosario at Boston's Marina Bay Sportsplex on March 31st. The fight is on the undercard to Mark DeLucas Super Welterweight contest with Michael Moore. Quigley hasn't fought since injuring his right hand in defeating Glenn Tapia in California in March of last year. The bout with Rosario will be his first under new trainer Dominic Ingle. Now Ireland made it 2 wins from 2 at the World Cup Cricket qualifying tournament in Zimbabwe this afternoon with a 4-wicket victory over Papua New Guinea. Set a target of 236. Ireland surpassed the total with just 5 balls to spare. William Porterfield top scored for Ireland with 111, and next up for Graham Ford's side is a meeting with group favourites the West Indies, and that is on Saturday. Athletics World Governing Body says it's not yet ready to end Russia's ban from the sport for state-sponsored doping. The IAAF says if conditions aren't met, the country's athletes may not even be able to compete as neutrals. It's also threatened to expel Russia's Athletics Federation from being members if progress isn't made. But just last week the IOC lifted its Olympic ban on Russia despite 2 Russian athletes competing as neutrals, of course, failing doping tests at the Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang.
I should tell you, listeners, Dan McDonnell walked in here with an extra spring in his step. He had the look of a man who had a purpose about his week, and now I've suddenly realised, looking at your next story, Richie, it's a Martin O'Neill's in town kind of a week.
Screw the Champions League. This is what Dan's looking tonight.
Turkey's coming up.
You're in prep mode for Thursday, are you?
Turkey away. Yeah, well, we're in prep mode for Thursday, and then training camp in Turkey at the end of the month. 6 Nations is over. Ural can move out of town, and the international football can roll back in.
I think we heard rugby is the people's game recently, so you know.
Yeah, exactly. So,
where's this one being played in Turkey? Do we know yet?
Antalya.
Down the south.
Oh,
lovely little tourist area.
And they're going for a week, not just for
that's unfortunate,
not just for 2 days a week. I mean, they demanded. The FAI just decided to go there for a training camp.
That's unlucky for you.
So what will the temperatures be for you?
I think quite good. I haven't actually looked at it yet.
Are we talking 20?
I think you're talking that neck of the woods.
Nothing that's going to do a County Louth's complexion any favours.
No, well, you've got to acclimatise. Across the course of a week, you've got time to do that. So
if you're Skyping into the show and not with a pina colada and topless, then it's just not worth it.
I just want to see him looking like Stan Staunton in the lineup for the anthem.
Yeah, well,
I've
got my array of peak caps ready to go for the trip.
Yeah. Martin O'Neill's naming his first squad of 2018 on Thursday, and there's another chance for Sean Maguire to put his hand up for a place tonight. Although maybe not. The Preston striker grabbed a brace at the weekend, but he's only on the bench as they welcome playoff hopefuls Bristol City to Deepdale. Among tonight's other games, Cardiff can cut the gap on leaders Wolves to just 3 points with a win at home to Barnsley. Third place Aston Villa have an Irish laden side with Conor Harrahan, Glenn Whelan and Scott Hogan all starting away to bottom side Sunderland, while in form Fulham they welcome Sheffield United to Craven Cottage. And among tonight's other games, Gary Monk takes charge of Birmingham for the first time, and he goes up against the side who sacked him in Christmas week. That's Middlesbrough.
We'll touch on this in the football show, but speaking of Martin O'Neill and Michael O'Neill had some comments about essentially he's given out that the FAI are targeting Catholic boys to come and play for the British team.
I mean,
well, who else would they be after?
Well, this is it. So
what's the issue with Michael O'Neill?
Well, he's given an interview where he's sort of spoken in strong terms about the issue of recruitment. He's unhappy that a number of players who play for Northern Ireland at underage level then switch to play for the Republic, and that switch means they can never go back. And his point is that the FAI are taking loads of players who they don't really need in the long run. I can see his argument there.
And do we have any ideas on numbers?
He says he could name at least 10. There are examples. Some of them wouldn't be very high profile. He mentioned a guy, Daniel Devine at Partick Thistle, who switched, and now he would be in the Northern Ireland squad now, he claims, but he can never play for them again. But really, we're just working on a piece on this for tomorrow, really, to work on the point of view that, of course they're going to go after the players from a Catholic nationalist band. They're probably growing up as Ireland fans under the Irish anthem with the Irish flag. That's possibly their natural intonation. I don't really think you condemn them when Northern Ireland go after players that have played for other countries too, including players that have played for the Republic, and as they are doing so at the moment.
Why would they chase players they've no chance of getting? Why not? Come on.
But on the other side,
he's obviously annoyed about it, Michael O'Neill, too.
Strongly so.
But on the other side of that, the Republic of Ireland are hardly press ganging these players into playing for them. Like that, which is not necessarily the implication of O'Neill, but it's saying there's stockpiling of players going on.
Yeah.
When the players themselves are ultimately deciding, I have more of an affinity with the Republic, I want to play for them. If it's at under 21 level, there's a chance I could go on and play in senior level. If not, that's the way the chips fall.
They're following their heart ultimately. It's opportunistic when they play for Northern Ireland. That's the problem, and you would like to think they wouldn't play for Northern Ireland and then switch. I can understand their frustration, but the rules are there, and everyone plays by those rules, including Northern Ireland when it comes to recruiting other players.
Yeah.
So I don't see how Michael O'Neill's argument here. He wants a gentleman's agreement, by the way, with Martin O'Neill, who's in a slightly awkward situation as a former Northern Ireland sort of player. He wants him to enter in a gentleman's agreement that the FAI will not approach any players who've played for Northern Ireland between 17 and 21. But is
that not going to happen?
I think the FAI would be crazy to pursue that.
Why?
Because they can get players by this route who want to play for Republic of Ireland ultimately. In fact, I think there was an agreement in the past that you wouldn't approach players until they were a certain age. Yeah. And now you're looking for a threshold to be applied between between 17 to 21.
When they're adults.
I mean, I understand the frustration. The frustration is understandable, but there's deep flaws to the point that he's made.
Okay. Well, I presume Martin O'Neill will be asked about this.
Well, the FAI aren't in a mood to respond to it, I don't think, at the moment. So I think it probably will fall to Martin O'Neill to do so on Thursday.
So you're going to stand up and say, Martin, will you enter a gentleman's agreement?
I won't stand up. No,
enter a gentleman's agreement with Michael O'Neill not to take any Northern Irish players who played for Northern Ireland between the ages of 17 and 21.
That will be a question that will be asked on Thursday. Yeah.
Okay. And he will say.
Yeah,
unlikely we'll have to think about that.
I think he'd prefer to talk to Tony for a while than address that issue at length.
We've texted in from Killian, who is not JP. Says, looking at the numbers, the original puntastic texture, but he says, lads, I expect you'll get a flurry.
Come on now,
Eddie the
it's subtle, but like
Eddie the Eagle / Winter Olympics text, quite possibly an avalanche, but make sure you don't annoy people. You're already skating on thin ice.
You're mixing the metaphors there, John.
It's no joke.
That's
hey. All right, get us out of this.
I don't know if I want it.
Let's just leave it be.
Yeah, England captain Dylan Hartley, a major doubt for their meeting with France in Paris in the Six Nations. The hookers dealing with a leg muscle problem. Forwards coach Steve Borthwick has confirmed wing Jack Noel will miss out because of an ankle injury, while flanker Sam Underhill is unavailable because of an issue with his toe. While Wales have called up Ospreys prop Rodri Jones for this weekend's match against Italy in Cardiff. He replaces Scarlets forward Wyn Jones, who withdrew from the squad last week because of injury. Confirmed today that Fiorentina captain Davide Astore died due to cardiac arrest. His post-mortem ruled out any involvement of foul play in the 31-year-old's death. He was found dead in his hotel room in Udine on Sunday morning, and both Fiorentina and his former club Cagliari have retired their number 13 jerseys in tribute.
Last story.
Very finally, Ferrari's Sebastian Vettel finished fastest on day one of the second week of pre-season F1 testing in Barcelona today. World champion Lewis Hamilton, who was quickest last week, was down in fourth today, and his Mercedes teammate Valtteri Bottas was second, with Red Bull's Max Verstappen just behind.
Thanks, Richie. That's us done for this evening. Champions League getting underway very shortly. We're going to talk to French football expert Julien Loren. That's next.
Off the Ball on News Talk
in association with Air. Don't miss live Allianz League's GAA action this month on the Air Sport Pack, the home of Irish sport.
Moncrief.
Derek, though, is a big fan of having the dog in the bed. He says, I can't believe how squeamish you are. It's actually quite common for people to share their bed with their dog. Princess sleeps in mine every